Yes, Don't Look Up, in which Jennifer Lawrence's Kate DiBiase and Leonardo DiCaprio's Dr. Randall Mindy are excited to be the first to discover a massive new comet, which quickly turns to abject terror once they calculate its trajectory and discover it's heading straight for us. So, it's essentially a remake of Deep Impact. The difference, of course, is while Deep Impact went on to discuss serious people preparing seriously for this serious event, Don't Look Up is set in our current era of weaponised idiocy, and so their warnings that the planet is about to be pulverised in a mere 6 months is treated with mild interest at best, bumped on the news schedule by the latest pop star gossip. Meryl Streep's Janie Orlean, the USA president, and unholy combination of Donald Trump and Sarah Palin, is similarly unfussed about this, opting for a wait-and-see strategy, at least until a suitably stupid scandal means that a diversion is needed and a mission to explode the comet is launched, only to be aborted when a billionaire tech baron, Mark Rylance's Peter Isherwell, convinces Orlean to instead allow his company's wild scheme to break it into smaller chunks in order to land it safely in the US and mine the precious minerals it's composed of. This goes as well as you might expect. While all this is unfolding, Dr. Mindy finds himself becoming the government's face for Comet Communications, a slowly boiling frog in the increasing outlandishness of the, well, first the refusal to act, and then the wildly unconvincing response to it. Kate rather quickly recognises the inadequacy of the response and tries to raise an appropriate level of alarm, only to be mocked and proverbially run out of town. Although once Dr. Mindy regains his critical faculties, they have something of a reconciliation, agitating for action, while the opposing forces deny there's even a comet out there, urging people to think positively and don't look up. Boom, title drop. It is, much like writer-director Adam McKay's prior work, The Big Short, a satire of little subtlety. Now, in this instance, the hammer-like nature of this is very much the point, the film itself being a satire of the cloth-eared, lead-footed response to our planet tearing itself apart in a bid to remove us pesky humans, a film that is basically the embodiment of Jennifer Lawrence's character here. However, that being the point of the film doesn't excuse, well, the point of the film, and this does quickly feel like it's repeating itself over and over. Not necessarily a problem if it remains funny, but sadly it doesn't. I mean, it has its moments, but this is a comedy that's well north of 2 hours and is at least 3/4 of an hour too long. And really, that's my main issue with the film. Sadly, it's a pretty critical one. There's a fair amount in the theoretical positive column from a batch of solid turns from a star-studded cast, and the production design, which is lavish and on point, and I need a lot of it is more believable than I would wish. But, well, the bottom line is that it's a comedy that's not funny enough, no matter what your politics are. Indifferent out of 5.
Yes, or as far as I'm concerned, a comedy that's not in any way funny. There were couple of moments where I laughed a little. I can't remember now what they were. And at one point that I got a genuine laugh when I found out what exactly a Bronto-Rock is.
Yeah.
And that was it for the entire film. This is, I mean, I know you're suggesting, Scott, that it's supposed to be this kind of on the nose, but it is the least clever satire that I've seen, I think.
Yes, barely qualifies for the title, really.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Also, it's not a satire. I mean, again, possibly the point and the sad thing about it, it's not a satire. 90% of it is the year 2020 that someone's run a find and replace on. And frankly, it's too soon. 2020 was an absolute bloody misery. Living through it, and watching this film was just an absolute bloody misery again.
Yes.
I mean, they're not even trying to code the characters. That's why it's a find and replace job. It's just the same things with just different words.
Yeah.
Even to the point of, and there are some good performances in it. I like Leonardo DiCaprio. Somehow, I'm still not buying him having grown-up children. He doesn't look old enough. There's a man aging well. Jennifer Lawrence, who I often don't like, I find her, I think I may have mentioned this before, I quite often find her like quite unlikable, quite a nippy sweetie, as the Scottish phrase seems appropriate. In this film, it worked. It worked for that character, and her incredulity and whatnot. So that was great. I did like her in this. DiCaprio's pretty decent, and I like Jonah Hill, but he does do a disconcertingly good turn of sleazy, spectacularly insincere people, but again, fits for this role.
Yeah.
And who's definitely not Don Jr., with a definite not reference to the cocaine habit that Don Jr. definitely doesn't have, Scott.
Yes.
But yeah, the rest of it's just so on the nose, and it's again so the whole like reliving that right after it's miserable. It's just not funny. That's my biggest problem with it. That and it goes on forever. I don't know what's going on with Mark Rylance. That's a weird performance. It's a weird character. It's like Mark Zuckerberg stuck inside Tim Cook's body, I guess.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't work because they feel like they're making fun of Apple executives and things at such point. But if like the one thing Apple executives are not is lacking in self-confidence or the ability to communicate.
Yeah.
The Mark Zuckerberg works. There are probably elements of Elon Musk in there, but again, the personality doesn't match up. So it's, I don't know, it's like it's misunderstood the people it's trying to make fun of. It doesn't quite work. But it's a strange performance. I don't know if I think it's bad, because I think the problem's more in the writing. It's just a weird character. And I get the points around it, and again, there's nothing subtle in this film at all. I just find that role quite oddly portrayed.
Yeah, it's a strangely written one. It's particularly as you say, all the rest of the analogues have lots of quotation marks around them. They're basically the same character. That one in particular is kind of weird. It's like they needed a general purpose tech baron, and there's not one company that would be able to do everything that this company Bash or whatever it's called, and it actually could do. So they've just taken a whole bunch of characters, threw them in a blender, handed it to Mark Rylance and go, here, make something of this. And he's just chosen to give it a kind of weirdly, almost ethereal performance that is, even in a film that is not particularly well connected with reality, he seems adrift from most of it as well. So, strange.
Yeah. Yeah, ethereal is a very, very good word to describe it. It is the oddest performance. And again, I don't know if that's acting choice or if it's the writing. I suspect it's the writing, but
yeah,
it's that's weird. It doesn't, because the rest of them are just, they are the people.
Yes.
And because Meryl Streep, who is quite clearly Scooby-Coo. Before, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, he decided to just refuse to ever use Donald Trump's name anymore. So he solicited a lot of names on Twitter for the Late Show for like most of last year with the hashtag "He Who Shall Be Named." And a lot of them are really naff, but there are some really good ones. And I was like, I decided that this film was making me want to just see them instead of actually referring to Donald Trump. I kept forgetting what the good ones were. So I'm just going to mention this because they're funny. Not actually related to the film, but I should meant, like, it was Scooby-Coo, Voldemoron, Mar-a-Lardo.
I like that one. That's good.
Dolt 45, Hair Farce 1, The Fraud Father, Jackass O'Lantern, and Old Whack Donald. There's no subtlety. That's who that is. I didn't actually think it was Sarah Palin, but there's probably a bit of that. That seems reasonable enough, Scott. I don't know. It's just such an unsubtle film, and I don't think it really achieved much. Like, good satire kind of, has a point, or kind of really kind of lambasts or lampoons people. And this one, it's like, but it's just it's the news, which is depressing in itself.
Yeah.
You can't get comedy out of it because we've gone so far beyond that now that it's kind of almost impossible to make fun of.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, how do you parody that?
Yeah, I think that's been the problem that a lot of late night hosts have had over the last 4 years or something of his reign, and It just needed to be a lot shorter and kind of funnier. It did seem to be repeating itself a lot of the time. I think there's this could be made to work without, I think, all that much in the way of changing it, but it just needed to be a bit more focused. Is it actually going to be about politics, or is it actually going to be about tech, or is it actually going to be about the media? Whereas what you've got at the minute is something that is kind of scattershotly trying to parody and satire a number of axes and not really doing any of it in any particular really great way. So yeah, it kind of lost it lost any kind of bite or edge that it could have had. And but yeah, ultimately, just not enough laughs in it for 2 hours and 2.25 hours, 2 hours 20, whatever the hell it is. It's a long film and it felt it.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's there's wee bits which sort of work as a joke on themselves, and you can maybe say it's like suggests like the corruption of the people that were put in that White House, but the general charged them for the snacks.
Yeah.
that works as a kind of like, that son of a bitch. There's like how corrupt everybody in that administration is. Yeah. But then it keeps getting brought up, and it's not particularly funny. I mean, it's not out of place for the character that she would kind of stick on that. Like, why would he do that?
Yeah,
it's not funny enough, and it's just kind of it sort of goes nowhere.
Yeah,
yeah, what a pity. Yeah, I've not had a lot of luck with Adam McKay's films. Actually, I didn't like The Big Short. I remember that was like so talked up at the time. I'm like, really? Didn't like Vice at all, although I did want to revisit that. And this is just garbage. I don't think he's a good satirist, which is weird for someone whose career is now satire, apparently.
Yeah.
I demand the Armando Iannucci version.
I'm trying to think, he's done films that I liked, but it was a long time ago.
He did do Talladega Nights? I like his comedy stuff more.
Yeah, because he's written an awful lot of things. What's he directed?
Yeah, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, the other guys. It's a lot of stuff with Will Ferrell when Will Ferrell was still funny.
Yes.
Which is a while ago.
Yeah.
And did some writing in Ant-Man. But
yeah, his later career's not probably worthier films in some axes, but yeah, they're definitely not as funny or as good. I didn't mind Vice as much as you did, even despite the subject matter. That, but I wouldn't go to bat. It's not a hill I would die on.
Yeah, I mean, at least you could parody George W. and Dick Cheney. Trump is just so far beyond that. He is a walking parody. So how you can't do it externally.
Yes.
Which is, comes with its own problems. Yeah, certainly not a recommendation on that one from me or you by the sound of it.
No, not really.